I just realized I don't have a drink.
Go ahead.
Yeah? I'll be right back.
Yeah. I love that shirt. Oh. All right. So Adam. Damn, that's a big Bowser. Bowser. Nick knocking the knickers. Nick knocking the knickers. Nick knocking the.
Mega Dads Live is a mature rated podcast. It's for the Mega Dads, the Mega Moms, but not the Mega Kids. So put on those earmuffs and let's go!
I'm back. Is this coming
Are you
through?
ready? Yes.
Good
it
pops.
is.
How are you? It's been a long time.
I feel like it's
Not an
been
episode.
1 billion years since we've had Adam's presence on this podcast. It's incredible.
It's been very weird to not record this show for such a long time.
Mhm.
I mean, for years and years, I only recorded once a month, but
Yeah.
then we started doing more episodes, and so to have such a break has been very strange. I missed your face. I'm glad that your face. You kind of look more the same this time. You
I
usually
try to
come in with
change a
completely
lot.
different face.
Yeah, I try to change a lot just because I know it bothers you.
So this time I changed.
Yeah, I'm pretty pissed about it. For those who
Yeah.
don't listen or who don't watch the YouTube version
You
of the
should.
podcast,
You should watch the YouTube
you
version.
should. Adam cut off his amazing golden locks that he had growing. His hair was getting very long. He looked sophisticated, like he drank gin like on a weekday to like close out his night. What happened? Why did you do it? Why did
So
you cut
it had
off?
been probably about 7 months since I got a haircut, right?
Wow.
And I was like, I started just doing it because I was lazy. Like I'm just gonna let it go. But then it got to be like a certain. There's an interesting length with my hair, and my hair is very curly and wavy. And like if it gets to be a certain length, it gets unruly, and there's like no good way to manage it, to comb it. But then once it pushes through that point, then it just kind of starts to look awesome, like a lion's mane.
Yep.
And so once I reached that point, I was like, I'm just gonna lean into this. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna grow this fucker out, and I'm not gonna cut it until my wife tells me to cut it. Because I was getting the wife looks where I can tell like her eyes, we're having conversations and her eyes drift to my hair. And I'm like, I know what she's thinking, but she's not saying it yet.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna keep growing it until
Push it.
She held out the entire time. She never told me to cut it. And it just got to a point where I was like, it's getting hot. And like it's getting so wavy that it's just like it's starting to like take over. It's kind of like The Last of Us, the foliage just starts to take over the planet again. My hair was starting to take over me. And so I just said, you know what, fuck it. I'm gonna cut it. And my kids were like, no, don't cut it. It looks so cool. And I'm like, no, I'm gonna cut it. It's getting too long for me to manage. And I know my wife hates it. I know she hates it, even though she doesn't say it.
Your
So
wife is so kind. Like every story I ever hear about her, she's just like an angel. Now, the other thing that you need to know about this hair is it was reaching that level where it looked like you own like a bike, like a motorcycle. No, wait. It looked like you used to own a bike and that you wish that you could get another bike to replace the one you sold. And you're like really salty about it and you bring it up all the time. That's what you looked like. But it worked for you. It was just greasy enough.
It was it was like it would shift between. My hair is so weird, and I'm not a person that like has really good hygiene or like self-care. So like I don't know how to do long hair, right? Like you got to put shit in it. And so I'm like
Product
going through all the bottles that
maintenance.
my wife has in the shower because my wife has like
You didn't
15.
buy shit for yourself in that whole time.
No,
You
no,
were
no, no,
just
no.
like,
I wouldn't even know where to start. So like my wife's got like she's got like this whole bunker full of
Yeah.
lotions and
Mhm.
and creams and conditioners and all that
Balms.
stuff. So like I'm just randomly throwing shit in my hair every other day, and some days it looks great, and some days it's like, God, I hate this. And it was getting to be a point where it was like my hair was dictating too much of my life. I was spending too much time looking at my hair, working on my hair, and I wasn't liking the person that I was becoming. But now that it's gone, I kind of miss it.
One more quick note for those who, again, do not watch the video version on YouTube. If you're audio only, you're missing out. Show us the shirt, Adam. I haven't seen this shirt that you're wearing. It is a KK slider shirt. Nothing shredded. What? Nothing
shredded. Nothing shredded, nothing gained.
Oh, it is a beautiful shirt. It's got the nice gray color to it, which I think is like kind of casual, but like also you could wear it out. Very good quality of the little decal on there. I love it. Where'd you get this shirt? Don't keep the
My
secret.
kids got it for me.
Don't keep the secret. Where'd they
My
get
kids
it?
got it for me as a birthday present. I don't know, a couple years ago. See, I'm not a guy. There's a point in your life where you can wear graphic tees all the time, right?
Are you there?
No, I'm far past it.
Oh.
I'm way beyond
I still
that point.
do.
But there are some shirts, like you said, that are a little more neutral, a little more toned back, and I think this is one of them. Like you said, I think you could wear this
You
out
can wear that out. Yeah.
and not feel like a doofus. Whereas if I wore some of my old, Final Fantasy X shirts with Ifrit on it, like there's no place for that except for Hot Topic. Yeah, I can't pull that off.
People could just think that you're like a fan of dogs or block lettering. It's good.
Exactly. So what's new with you, dude?
I have been trying to hold it down. When you left to take your little break for the podcast, I've been recording Megadads Live with some amazing Megadads. Like can't speak highly enough of Tony the Coconut Wizard. He is a really good dad who tries really hard in really challenging situations, and we had a great time chatting. I love spending time with him, and I wish that we could spend even more time. And then we had Evan, you talk to Evan, he's an old school gamer. He knows things. You get him talking about something and he just like goes, and it's always news to me because he's so smart.
Deceptively intelligent.
Yes, I'm like, what the hell? He gets
if you looked at his face,
yeah,
you look at his face, you're like, this guy's not smart.
He looks like he could use like a few dollars. You know what I mean? Like if I saw him outside the 7-Eleven, I'm like, that guy could use some change. But
he's like one of them hermits that, like, if you actually start talking to him, like he's led a life. He knows some things.
If he had a pipe that he just kept on him. So I think that it's gone really well without you. We've talked about things like circumcision. We've talked about the typical games and gaming news. Like it's been great. It's been really good.
A very healthy amount of dick talk in my absence.
I love it.
So it was working. It was really weird to listen to the show, not having been a contributor, but just listening to the formula and the structure work without me. I turned it on last weekend. I was sitting in my living room and I just threw it up on the TV and I'm watching you guys and I'm like, this is like an out of body experience because you had everything. You had everything except for. And let me tell you. Yep. No.
Hi, Mabel.
I'll tell him.
Can't say I missed you, Mabel. How you doing?
The amount of hate mail that I got from Mabel over this last month, the fact that I forced her to use her PTO, she was pissed, absolutely pissed. So, because of that, we're gonna let Mabel open up her mailbag today in a little bit. We'll get to that in just a few moments. But she's upset. She's upset, and she wants to make sure that she's not being written out of the show. Do you have anything you want to say to Mabel?
Mabel, I didn't miss you at all. I was wondering why I was feeling so good.
Son of a no.
I was feeling so positive.
God damn it. Time out. Mabel, just sit down. We'll get to you in a minute. It's okay. Antonio has put in the hours. He's been with this organization longer than you have. He has a right to spread his wings and fly. And you did a great job. You did a great job.
Thank you.
Let's just start the way we like to start with our
Mega Dad's being super positive.
and talk about the things that have been bringing us joy in our life. I'll go first since it's been a while I've been on the show. My son has been putting in a lot of work with his karate.
Yeah.
He is on his way to a brown belt, which is very close to black belt. He just participated in a tournament in which he took first place in his individual match against 15 other kids. It was a very proud moment. We've been taking him to so many classes in anticipation of both the belt graduation and this tournament. He's been putting in a lot of work, and it paid off, and he did really well. And the thing about being a parent and having these extracurricular activities is you really have to lean on your spouse, right? Because it can be a lot to go to work, you're commuting, you put in like 10 hours there, and then you got to go and immediately pick up your kid and take them to whatever it is that they do, whether it's band practice or gymnastics or whatnot. And we have 2 kids in programs. So my wife and I have been working really hard to kind of tag team so that one doesn't have to do everything. And last weekend, my wife took Elliot to his karate class for the first half, and then we like handed off in the middle of classes so that she could go and get her phone repaired at the AT&T store. And so we tag teamed, and she left, and I was sitting there watching Elliot do his classes, and all of a sudden I had to take the fiercest shit ever. Like it was one of those like, this is an emergency out of the blue. I have to let this out, otherwise I ain't gonna make it home. So the waiting room for karate is very small. It's very intimate setting, bunch of parents on folding chairs. There's about 20 parents there in folding chairs. And then the bathroom is right there. Not down a hallway.
Oh no, you mean
right.
Like too close.
Right there. Like
proximity.
within like 5 feet of the chairs. And I'm like, I there's nothing I can do. So I'm in there just ripping it out, right? And as I'm shitting, and it's so loud, it dawned on me, if I can hear these parents talking on the other side.
Oh no, sound travels, Adam. Sound travels. Have you heard that?
They can obviously hear me. There's no way they can't, right? And so I'm sitting there shitting, and I pull out my phone and I text my wife, because this is the kind of oh shit situation that you got to share with your loved one. And I'm like, I am pretty sure all of the parents can hear me just shitting up a storm in this bathroom. So I'm texting this to my wife. There's no response. And then it double dawned on me. She dropped her phone off to get repaired. There's somebody working on her phone right now.
Reading all this live updates.
My diarrhea text.
Oh, and you're sending all kinds of pictures live
just
of what's happening.
All of these intimate bowel details to some random AT&T tech. My wife isn't even getting any of these messages. And the double shame that I had of knowing that not only did I share this with some, 18-year-old AT&T tech, but once I'm done wiping my ass, I got to go face a room of like 20 parents who just heard me tear up that bathroom.
I would just stay in there. I wouldn't be able
forever.
Yeah, like this is my home now. That's it.
It was super awkward.
I think about this all the time, like the uncomfortableness of like, a lot of people don't use public restrooms at like all costs. Like I don't want to be there. I just
try not to if at all
too
possible.
Close. So I went to a hotel for a conference, and they had these little like stalls, each with individual doors. So they had your own like little room. It had the full door with the toilet inside, similar like in other countries where they keep things really sanitary and they have a toilet in its own little like compartment. They had this in the like first floor lobby of this like Hilton, and I was like, this is amazing. Like, this is what it should be. You know what I mean? Like, give yourself a
Yeah.
little bit of privacy. Like, are we animals? Like, are we like, can we shouldn't be doing this like close to each other. You know what I
Right.
mean? I don't know.
There,
Maybe I'm
there's a s-
sensitive.
no, I think there's a certain amount of shame that is appropriate in life. And when it comes to evacuating our food, I think we should feel bad about it because it's a disgusting, disgusting, filthy process. What's your super positive?
I recently went to heaven. It was amazing. I highly recommend. So, long story short, I have been looking for something to get into, right? Expanding my hobbies, so to speak.
Uh
And
huh.
what ended up happening was I was talking to a couple buddies of mine that are Disney fans. They do a Disney podcast called one of them's called Movie Bites, one of them's called Mouse Bites. So it's like Disney related video games and movies. And
Okay.
I just was like researching things, and I saw the Fallout themed Magic the Gathering like cards, and I pre-ordered
Interesting.
them and they finally came in. So I was like, great, card games, let's start talking about it with my buddies.
Uh-huh.
And then I naturally, because these are awesome. They're Magic the Gathering, but they go Universes Beyond themed, where they have like Doctor Who, My Little
Cool.
Pony, and now Fallout. Soon there will be Marvel themed Magic the Gathering cards.
Oh
So
shit.
Magic's is a very old established trading card game. Great,
Yeah.
right? I go down the rabbit hole and you realize that the new hotness is something called Disney Lorcana. Have you heard of this?
I've never heard of that.
Disney came out with their own trading card game in the vein of Magic the Gathering, where you are fighting other characters, gaining points. There's kind of a Disney spin to it. But
Uh-huh.
the cool part about Magic for me and cards and this whole trading card thing I never really got deep into was the art on the cards, and they're just really cool to have something tangible to collect. So I got into Disney Lorcana and I started buying starter decks and packs, and I went to my local game store. You walk in and there's just people having fun playing cards, and the people are nice, and the prices are very reasonable. And I ended up buying like a bunch of stuff, and I was talking to my wife about it, and I'm like, would you try this with me? We got into the other Disney game called Villainous, and
Yeah.
I like Disney enough. I'm not a super fan, but now I'm getting into the trading card game, and the vibe in the local game store was it was good. It was nice.
Who do you typically play with? Like you
So
must have had some sort of idea who you're going to play with when you got into this hobby
yes,
again.
so I thought I was trying to convince my buddy Clay, who's done the Fallout Fans podcast with me for Mega Dads, and I was like, man, we should do this, and I didn't really realize what, like, I'm thinking I'm trying to tell him, hey, we should get into this. So I bought my cards. I'm like, okay, so what cards did you say you had? He's like, oh, I already have some. He shows me a picture and he has everything. He's a huge Disney. He has like all like 6 starter decks, big boxes of like the booster pack. Like he had so much shit. And I was like, whoa. And then our other buddy, he bought some. I bought some cards for my wife. So there's a bustling online community of trading card game players online. There are discords. I've joined those, and
Really?
everybody's super friendly. Yeah, I
So you play
joined.
online?
You can play via like a webcam and just like kind of point the camera down and see each
Oh,
other's cards. But
wild.
they also have online things, and you could do it different ways. But you can play trading card games online where you just kind of like insert your cards online, and you could just use your mouse and click around, and it's like has effects, and like it looks really decent. So there are different ways. Part of the fun is playing and putting your hands on the cards, so you can just do the webcam way. But some of them, they have a way to like translate, and this isn't like new. Like Magic the Gathering has something where you scan it and it's like, oh, here are the cards you purchased in real life, and now they're here for you to
That's
play
so
with
cool.
online. Yeah, it's the barrier to entry for this is very low. Like a starter deck at a local game store is like $10, $12. Online, it could be like $16. And then these packs, again, like that have like extra collectible, like, oh, I want to get better, I want to get more competitive, I want to get something more rare. They were only $5 for 12 cards. And I was like, that's really good. And again, online, the $5 boosters are 12 or whatever. And I'm just like, this is great. So they made a pitch and they're like, you come on Fridays at 7 and people will be here and they play little giveaways and tournaments. Like, they had really good marketing. They're like, we have all this free shit. You come in here and you could like play with others and talk to people about the game or whatever. It looked really fun. So it's just like another world that, we're not really into, right? We like stick with our gaming. But I'd encourage you, if you do like board games or you were ever interested in trading card games, get into either Magic or Disney Lorcana. It's really hot right now. Like, a lot of the stuff is sold out. You have to kind of keep your eye on it. But they have new stuff coming out all the time, and it's like beginner friendly. It's not like just for kids. Like, everybody in there was like our age, and it was just like, it was great. Yeah. So
yeah,
I highly recommend it.
I've gone to a couple local game shops where they have like a whole back room of just card tables and people are just doing exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. And it's clearly still a big thing. That's really cool.
Yeah, a lot of
I had no idea about that online card game.
Yeah,
thing.
It's cool. Like, a lot of the intersection of like comics, board games, and trading card games are like, they're all a lot of times in one hobby shop, and like the communities are like kind of tangential to each other. So something to get into if you want to look into it. I highly recommend.
Well, something that I think we really need to get into, and we need to get into it now, is Mabel's mailbag.
Oh no.
It's that time again where we reached out to our community and they sent in their community questions to Mabel. Mabel, yep, it's your time to shine. Let's go to the mailbag. Our first question comes from N. Johnson 5513 from our Discord. If you're not a member of our Megadads Discord, it's completely free. The link is in the show notes here on the YouTube video. Join us for all sorts of great, fun conversations every single day. You can chat it up with the Megadads and submit your questions to Mabel's bag. Nate wants to know, I believe it's Nate, I think the N is for Nate. For Mabel and the crew, what is your video game fantasy? And he says that we can spin this any way we want. Do you want to take this first?
I want to stay married. I do. But I also want to be real with the people. Okay? So I'm going to be real with the people. When you look at Final Fantasy remake, rebirth, etc., and you see your quite attractive companions, let's say, right?
Professor Hojo?
Yes, exactly. So like, as a red-blooded, American male, I am horny. and you get into these like Stellar Blade, like, and all these like, they're just like, you admire the form of both, of all shapes and sizes. And you're just like, I wouldn't mind having like lunch with you. I wouldn't mind grabbing, some fish tacos with you and having a conversation. Hearing about your hopes and your dreams.
Is that a metaphor?
Yeah. I mean, I would love to dive deep into some fish tacos with many a game character. So I think it would be fun, video game fantasy, to just be in video games and the worlds that we find and interact with the characters that are there, because we have this level of, we're interacting with these things, but it would be really cool to like be there and experience some of these worlds. And I think it would be fun and, exciting and more colorful than everyday life. So that's kind of a little bit of a catch-all, but that's honestly what I think about is Tifa on the beach. So,
going back one step to what you just said, I often think how much I wish that really every video game had VR mode, in just the sense that you would be the camera,
you
right?
Sick bastard. You had to take it there.
you're talking about worlds and exploring worlds, right? Like I would love as I just played Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and the locations in that game are just phenomenal.
Mhm.
And in particular, Gold Saucer is
Mhm.
just like an absolute feast for the eyes and ears.
Yep.
And if there was a VR mode for that game where you're playing it just like you would normally play it, but you're the camera and you could look around in real time and things would be 3D, I think that would just be so phenomenal. That's not my fantasy though. My fantasy is I would love the ability. I would pluck this ability from video games and insert it into my life. I want fast travel. There is nothing more
Yeah,
important to
you're
me
right.
than my time. I
Mhm.
hate nothing irritates me more than having my time wasted. I think about the amount of time I spend in the car, driving to work, or ushering my kids here or there, or just the busy work. It would be so great to just have the ability to wake up in the morning, shower, brush your teeth, and then boom, fast travel to work. That's an hour and a half out of my day every day, right there. So my ultimate fantasy would be if I could have that power in my real life. Boom, I'm at the grocery store. Get what I need. Boom, back home. It would just save me so much time. I would love that. That's my ultimate video game fantasy.
Well, a little like life hack is if you drink really heavily and
Yeah.
black out as much as some do, you kind of
Uh-huh.
just skip a lot of stuff. So consider it if you want. It's like a lifestyle thing,
Yeah.
but there is a like a shortcut. It's
Right.
just not too healthy for you. So think about it.
It works for you though, huh?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm in stuck in like traffic or whatever, there's too much that I have at my fingertips to entertain me. Like on the car, long rides, it's a podcast. I'm listening to something called Mega Dads, and
Yeah.
you're just absorbing like all sorts of, like a true crime podcast or news or whatever you want to do. An audiobook, and then I also have like a thing games on my phone, whatever. So I'm never bored. I haven't been bored since like
Th-
1992 or
There's like
something.
a need to fill every pocket of
I
space with
do. I
something.
shouldn't.
Yeah.
I
Yeah. Yeah.
shouldn't, but I really
I
do.
gotcha.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty normal. Spoke's question is what is your go-to drink and snack food?
I drink a
I
lot. I drink a lot. I'm sorry. Go.
I, I am not a huge snack guy.
Yeah.
But one thing that I have been eating, and it's kind of guilty free, is you ever eat Skinny Pop?
Is that popcorn that is like low calorie or
It's low
something?
calorie popcorn, and there's a sweet and salty flavor
Oh
of
yeah.
Skinny Pop
No, it is
that is
good.
just I could eat that shit all day. And you go to your Sam's Club or your whatever it is, and you can buy the big boxes with all the little bags. Just take one of those little bags with me to work every day. Low calorie, super good. I love that. And I would say for my drink of choice, you are never too old for a glass of chocolate milk.
Oh my god. Ew.
Ew.
Yeah. I am not a real
What?
big milk drinker, and I admire your tenacity, but I really can't do it.
Sucking the old moo teat.
Yeah,
What
when
about
you
you?
when you put it like that. So I'm a little embarrassed to say when it's like, what's your go-to drink? It's rum and coke.
That's what I drink when I drink.
But the problem with that is then it's like drink and snack food, and then I'm kind of
Yeah.
understanding that this is like more of a normal person question. So I feel bad. But if it's like a drink that I'm just like, trying not to get absolutely bonked, it's LaCroix Limoncello. I don't know how we got into it, but like one day we just grabbed it. My wife like was like, "Oh, let's get some of this sparkling water stuff." And
Limoncello?
yeah, like sparkling water comes in different flavors now, and now there's like a lot of them. There's one particular one, like all of them are just mid to me, except this one called Limoncello. So if you're ever in the store and you see some LaCroix sparkling water, pick up the Limoncello flavor, and it's like really good. And
Hmm.
they also have these like, I forget what they were, the the big name was, but you know these little flavor things where you put some drops of flavoring
Oh
in
yeah.
their extra
Yep.
Crystal Light or whatever. So we buy these things, and if you put a little like strawberry or something else in there, and you just put a little drop, it's just mind blowing how awesome it is. So I highly recommend that. That and Flaming Hot Cheetos, which is I know probably terrible for me. I love spicy, chips and stuff. So
You're going healthy with the flavored water, and then you threw in flaming hot
the
Cheetos.
more I think about like the Flaming Hot Cheetos, like I was gonna read the bag and the health information and ingredients the other
Oh
day,
God.
and like just as I was about to do it, I was like, you don't want to know, and I just
I'm
like put
glad
it
you
away.
stopped yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's probably like terrible for you.
If there's any snack where you're just like, I literally don't know what the fuck this is, it's got to be Cheetos, right? Like I can't even begin to think of how they make a Cheeto, and I don't want to know. They're delicious. They go in my mouth. Speaking of delicious and going in your mouth, Bird 10 wants to know if you had to choose which video game character best represents your personality, who is it and why?
This is simple for me. I just had to think about somebody's like motivations and core and behaviors and their life choices, and I am definitely Pac-Man. I just eat and eat and eat and eat, and if I see something scary, I run the other direction.
Yeah.
And if I take the right pills, I start to get a little bit more brave, and I start to run at people full speed. And that's just what I do. I feel lost in my life, like around corner. Every day it kind of looks the same, and I just keep eating and eating, and that's who I am at my core, is a Pac-Man-esque character, I think.
I think that's I have like the music now in my head, and I can just picture you walking around your house. Yeah. Like your daughter like leaves Cheez-Its, like sprinkles them down the hallway, and you're just eating them as you go. For me, I think that I am best represented by a sim.
Mhm.
And what I mean by that is I basically cannot take care of myself at all without some sort of outside intervention. If I didn't have my wife to guide me, Adam, go lay down. Adam, go take a shower. I
Spray
would
you
end
out.
up I would end up setting the house on fire, pissing my pants. I certainly wouldn't be able to like make it to work or do anything normal. Sims are like emotionally fragile, you know. Everybody who's played The Sims, you know what your sim is like when they get upset and they break down and they're just kind of like that is me, 100%. I need help, and I recognize that, and so my wife is the player. I am the sim.
That was a really good sim impression. Can I get one more of those? Is that possible? Right, she's not her water. Everything it's portable. Put up this animal. Yalita.
What the hell's the matter with us?
I don't know. I don't know.
Headlines. It's time for the news. Every week we get together and we pick maybe it's a relevant news story, maybe it's something that happened months ago and it's just been a while since we recorded, but we want to talk about it and force our opinions into your ears. Antonio, you brought us a news story here.
Yes.
What is it you want to talk about?
We got 2 bits of news recently that tickled my fancy and upset me greatly. So let's just hit the good news first. The Xbox Games Showcase is upon us. It airs on June 9th. So by the time you're listening to this, it should be still a ways away. But it's exciting for people like me who are in the Xbox ecosystem, who've been waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting for Xbox to kind of move and shake with all of their development studios that they have put under that Xbox Game Studios umbrella. So, Microsoft, this is according to The Verge, Microsoft is officially holding its big Xbox Summer Showcase on June 9th. As The Verge reported earlier this month, the showcase will air at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, and will include a deep dive into the next installment of Call of Duty after the main show ends. Microsoft is only teasing the Call of Duty Direct as the next installment of a beloved franchise, but sources familiar with the company's plans tell me this is indeed Call of Duty. Here we go. This will be the first Xbox showcase featuring games across Activision, Blizzard, Bethesda, and Microsoft Xbox Game Studios. I don't want to read this next part because it's like a minor spoiler, but bottom line is we've been waiting, and every time this happens, I get my hopes up, and it's just been kind of lackluster. And I don't think that narrative has changed where Xbox is waiting for the big games, for their investments in these studios to pay off. So that, as soon as I heard that, I started getting excited again, and I started feeling bad about that because I was like, don't do it to yourself again. Don't do it. It's like going back to that toxic relationship, and it's like they promise it's going to be better this time, and then just like 3 days into it, you're just like at each other's throats, and you're like, I can't believe it. Do you have any thoughts or feelings about what's going on the other side of the aisle on Team Green?
Yeah, I have mixed feelings. I feel like some years I've been way more positive on the Xbox showcase than a lot of people, and some years I just think I have zero interest in what they've shown. They struggle in the way that like typically they have like their showcase and then they have their other thing, and then like maybe the next day they have another thing that's more like a developer sit down conversation where they deep dive some stuff, and there's some reveals, but it's kind of like an afterthought. I don't really know. I haven't read too much up on this as like what their format is this year, other than it's the showcase followed by the anonymous, the redacted thing, which is weird to me. Why they wouldn't just include all of that as one? Like just it is the same thing. It's all at the same time. I always find it fascinating that it's like it's the Xbox Bethesda showcase. Well, isn't Bethesda part of Xbox? Why don't they just call it the Xbox showcase? I think Xbox oftentimes excites me with some of like the weird indie stuff that they show.
Mm-hmm.
Like they've shown some really cool stuff that I've never heard of. That's like smaller, like Planet of Lara.
I played it.
Somerville. They often show like a couple of really cool offbeat indie things that the other two don't really show. Nintendo shows indie stuff too, but I typically like the Xbox indie because it's a little more advanced and it's current gen. So I really like when they show stuff that isn't their flagship stuff. Typically I'm disappointed with their flagship stuff because they show it and then it just disappears for a few years, like Everwild. Like Everwild was announced, I don't even know how many years ago, 3-4 years ago, and apparently they've reset that game multiple times. I was really looking forward to whatever that ended up being, and we just don't know. And then I'm not a big fan of Halo. I don't really care about Gears of War, stuff like that. So a lot of like the Xbox branded stuff I'm not that interested in, but I love their looks at new indie kind of stuff that hits Game Pass, because I think some of that stuff is just really, really creative and interesting.
You bring up the good point about, the branding of that and Bethesda being like well, first Bethesda, but then the Activision Blizzard like being acquired, and it's like, what are they doing? So it looks like, because it's no longer the Bethesda Xbox showcase, they may be like shifting gears and like, okay, we're under the Xbox umbrella, here's what we got, you've been waiting a long time, we got Hellblade 2 coming out relatively soon, so we'll see. That's the good news, right? You want to know the bad news?
Yeah.
So Helldivers 2 is critically acclaimed across the board. Very high player count. By all accounts, kind of like an indie darling Cinderella story, right? It very popular. A co-op experience. Yeah, co-op experience when we're thirsty for them. and a lot of great mechanics. It's just like an action heavy game. You can have fun with friends. Very positive community overall, welcoming of new people. Like the emotes are like, oh, let's hug and high five. Let me onboard new players and help them out, etc. Things have taken a turn at them.
Oh
So
no.
I'll hit the high level of it, but here's from Games Radar. Thousands of negative Steam reviews hit Helldivers 2 after players learn they need a PSN account to continue playing. Sony announced mandatory account linking to PSN. It was like yesterday or the day before, as of the time of us recording. So here's the big issue, right? Quote, Sony Interactive Entertainment announced that Helldivers 2 players on Steam will soon be required to link their in-game profiles to a PlayStation Network account. Again, these are people who would need to be they're playing on PC, right?
Right.
And they need a PSN. A feature that was optional at launch due to technical issues or losing access to the game, but SIE has explained that account linking allows players to take advantage of safety and security provided by PlayStation, and it can more easily protect folks from griefing abuse enabled by the banning of players that engage in that type of behavior.
Okay.
As of the time of the writing, over 2,500 negative user reviews have been submitted to the game's storefront page today, blemishing the otherwise spotless, very positive rating. Some reviews cite data harvesting and security concerns as potential worries. Others point that Sony waited months after launch to make account linking mandatory. People are also saying that people in different regions that don't have PSN available, what's going to happen to them? So will the rules be different when they have no ability to turn on the PSN account linking?
Interesting.
Now here's the problem. Okay, so that's review bombing from a community that loves the game,
Right.
taking such a drastic turn. It boggles the mind a little bit, because then you're like, okay, well, there was a turn. What was the problem? PSN account creation for free and linking it. Everybody who is like really scratching their head and kind of the other side of the coin is just saying, make the free account and get over it, right? It's just like it takes 3 minutes, whatever.
Right.
Now it's turned ugly, Adam. So there are people on, people are trying to figure out who exactly to blame. Is it, Sony? Is it the developers for allowing this because whatever, it's your game? Like all this back and forth, and it would be a little too much to get into that and not really worth it. But what I wanted to talk about was the negativity. I looked at like a comment section, and this person was saying like people were saying like the most vile stuff, because they're like, this one person was commenting saying, what was the deal with this? Why are people so upset? And immediately just like swears and slurs and like all this stuff, like you're so dumb for even not understanding. Don't you know your data, blah blah blah, is being stolen, and but using very foul language and harassing people. They're finding accounts of people who they think are people who announced this, people who retweeted, like anyone associated with this is being harassed. And
For real?
Yeah, so these people, the developer that had so much goodwill, and the people who are involved with this game, or the messengers, right, who probably have nothing to do with the actual final like decision to begin doing this, it's just gotten very ugly. So I'm of two minds about this, right?
Okay.
There's a cycle. Something bad happens. Does it deserve to be talked about? Yeah, like, let's say, oh, this is a bad thing. Let's talk about it. Maybe it gets changed. Community expressing what they want. Good, right? Do it in a healthy way. But then we've gotten into this thing where, and we've seen this type of story before, where gamers attack people and use foul language, threats, review bombing something that, they're punishing everybody who's associated with making this game and put like years of their life into something that you liked yesterday, just because you don't like this one thing. There's no, like, the reactionary the lengths and the depths of the hatred that comes from such a small, to me, not to them, is, small thing. And then I'm like, my first thought is, I see all this in feeds and social and all these articles about it, and then comments and people commenting on the comments. Then it's like, my first thought was like, okay, don't give it oxygen, ignore these people. You saying, have you heard that people are upset and threatening Helldivers, like devs and Sony? I was like, why are we doing this? Just don't, right? That was my first thought. But then I'm like, if you go unchecked and you don't explain to these people, who I call children, like, this is no way to act as a human being toward other human beings. Like, you don't use those slurs in language. Like, I was reading a comment section. This person was going down every comment saying, go F yourself, to anybody who they found that was saying something about, hey, just create the account, or don't harass these people. They're like, you don't understand, blah, 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 go F yourself. And it got even more vile than that. So it's like a rage cycle, right? And I want to say ignore it and don't give it oxygen, but I'm disgusted. And it came to this point where I needed to say, like, and I had posted about it, which does like nothing in the grand scheme of things, but people, raise your gamers, your little ones that you're handing the controller to, get some. There's this anonymity behind online presence where you think you could say whatever you want to people, and it should never get to death threats. It should never get to these like vile slurs and bombing people for reviews and stuff. Like, calm the F down. What's your thought, Adam?
There used to be a time
where you'd kick someone's ass if they said shit like that.
Yeah, or you just beat the shit out of them. There used to be a time where you could say, these people eventually grow out of this, right?
Yeah.
But that's not today.
No.
That's not today. Most of the people that you're talking about are full-ass adults. And unfortunately, at this point, at this stage in their life, if this triggers them, that it's always going to... This reminds me of the controversy around Star Wars Outlaws. And I got wrapped up in this, like you got wrapped up in the Helldivers thing, where people were pissed that Ubisoft was having a premium version that allowed, it was like their premium battle pass version, which allowed like 3 days early access or something. And it's like just this ridiculous amount of money. It's like $170 or something like that. And everybody was losing their shit. And to me, it's like, you have a choice to engage or not engage with this product, which is the same thing with like Helldivers. I mean, it's a little different because these people have already purchased the product, but also it's just a fucking product. Yeah. It's a thing that it's a toy. It's a game that you bought that you can choose to stop playing, right? Mm-hmm. And the thing with Outlaws is like, just don't buy the expensive ass version. Like, people were losing their fucking minds over the fact that this was an option for some people. And you know what? Some people want to spend their money on that. It might be crazy to you. It might not make sense to you, but it's a choice. You can either do it or not. Same thing with Helldivers. It's a PlayStation Network account. Maybe you absolutely don't want a PlayStation Network account. That's fine. But like, either sign up for the account, which takes, like you said, 3 minutes, and it's free and it's not going to hurt you, or don't. But these people that just ingrain their lives in their fight, this hill that they're going to die on for no reason other than it's my favorite game at the moment. Who fucking cares? It's a game. Games come and go. Yeah, I think it's stupid that this is imposed after the game is released, but also it seems very minimally intrusive, and it's certainly not worth the fuss and the aggravation of hunting people down and threatening them. It's so stupid. And I hope that these people eventually come to a point where they realize that there are other things in life worth being upset about, like the Republican Party. Yeah, people just need, like you said, just fucking chill out.
A couple data points that really make this really interesting is, as of this morning in time of recording, the Helldivers 2 community manager drew fire for seemingly snapping at a player, saying that they should just change their review to negative and move on.
Yeah.
Then he said, because he's actually really down to earth kind of player first guy, he walked back his attitude and he said he maintained here he's being serious. He's like, you should change your review to negative and maybe we'll get some change here because it's actually a requirement from Sony. So that's an interesting wrinkle here. The other thing that was interesting, I would say, was the argument, according to this article, is talking about it. Helldivers 2 is in a civil war between players and talking about how the toxicity is inescapable in game, spreading across Reddit, Discord, Twitter, and anywhere else that Helldivers 2 fans gather online. The community is divided and warring, and it's just
a product.
Yes,
a product.
Exactly. And the last bit here, I wanted to read this comment. So I'm not even gonna say which side this is on, but the comments, and it's in this article earlier. You're the kind of person who lets your girlfriend and best friend hook up because it'll make them feel happy and you care for them both. This is such little man energy. I hope one day you either find a spine or lose everyone you need to stand up for, because I just know you can't be depended on to raise a toilet seat, you little tax break.
What the?
Is that fucking wild? Is that wild? Like that was slightly creative, actually. But anyway, it's like a car crash.
Can you imagine getting that worked up at a stranger?
Yeah.
Over any entertainment product.
I do, this quote says, I do especially feel bad for community managers. It feels like this announcement wasn't run by them and they're dealing with the fallout. So it's hard. At a certain point, again, I've been on the do not give it oxygen train for a long time. Like, let's just leave it. Okay, they're doing this, but I'm disgusted.
It's
and like,
gross.
I want to stand up to, I don't even know what I want to do. It's weird. All right.
Let's lift things up here, because I got a game I want to talk about. I'm very excited to talk about this game. I just, on your recommendation, or on your endorsement, I should say, have been playing Hi-Fi Rush. As we just discussed earlier in the episode, I'm not an Xbox guy. I've been out of the Xbox ecosystem for a little while. There's a game every once in a while that comes out on that platform where I'm like, damn, I would love that game. Gets me really close to renewing my Game Pass subscription for my PC, but I don't like playing on my PC because it's down here in my office. I like sitting on my couch on my big TV playing my console games, right? Well, as everybody knows, not that long ago, Xbox announced that they're going to be releasing some of their games, select titles, on multiple platforms. We've seen Ori on Nintendo. We've seen Grounded and Sea of Thieves coming to PlayStation. And this is the one. Hi-Fi Rush is available on PlayStation. And it's on sale as of the time of this recording, 30% off. And I had some PlayStation Stars bucks. I had $10 PlayStation credit. It was on sale for $20, so I picked this sucker up for a pretty penny, $10. And boy, was I right about this game, that it was an Adam-ass game. I am enjoying the ever-loving hell out of Hi-Fi Rush. It is so good. I'm going to talk about the things that I like first. There are a couple little nitpick things that I have about it, but ultimately, my feelings on Hi-Fi Rush are very high. I've put about 3 hours into the game. I just picked it up this past week, so I'm not deep into the game. It's surprisingly meaty. Each level is about 45 minutes to an hour long to play through. And I guess we'll start there. The structure of the game, it's level based, it's linear. You're thrown into a world, and there is some light platforming elements, some collectible stuff. And then it's kind of got like an old school brawler vibe where you get locked into a room where you have to clear enemies out. And then once you clear all the enemies in the room, the next path opens up and you proceed, and so on and so forth until you reach a level end boss, which is super awesome. And then you get some story drips along the way, some cutscenes, and then it throws you into the next phase. So it's very much like a 3D brawler platformer kind of game. Kind of like a Ratchet and Clank almost. But the hook of this game is that everything is infused with music. Music is at the heart and soul of Hi-Fi Rush, not only in the aesthetics, like there's really cool tunes playing, the levels bounce and gyrate and throb to the beat. So like steam shoots out of vents to the tempo of the music that's playing. Things kind of bounce and move. Platforms move in sync with the music, but it's gameplay infused as well. And the fact that you have to time your combat attacks to the tempo in order to get boosts. So it's like a 1/4 beat, 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 and you want to hit your attacks on those beats, coincide with the music, and then you get all sorts of perks and extra attacks and things like that. Really cool. Firstly, this game's got style in and out of the music itself, just the visuals and character, the color. It's a freaking cartoon. You are playing an animated movie. You can't tell the difference between the full animated cutscenes and the gameplay. It just looks like an animated movie. It is probably the best. I mean, cell shading is probably not the right term anymore, as how far the industry has come with this kind of thing, but it looks like an animated movie through and through. The exaggeration of the faces on the characters, the way that you move, the way that the world moves, and everything's kind of bold and has lots of thick black outlines. It just looks so cool.
It's almost like a comic book vibe, or like anime comic book.
Yeah, there's some halftone shading in there.
It's really cool. Like everything from the camera work, like you said, the cutscenes. Look, the first time that I looked out and saw that, it didn't click with me at first, but when the whole like world was moving with the beat of the song, I was amazed, and it kept me going from there. And like you said, it goes into the timing of the button presses for the moves and combos and things you want to do. I was just impressed the whole way through. There is licensed music. Can you talk to me about that? Were you surprised at that?
Yeah, the game opens up with the Black Keys' "Lonely Boy," a very iconic rock song from a couple of years ago. And so as the game loaded up, I was like, "Oh, I didn't know this was going to be a thing." But what it does that's really clever is that it uses licensed music in key moments.
Yeah.
So cutscenes like that and boss battles.
Yes.
So the full level, like I said, each level is like almost an hour long. So they're smart in that they don't beat you over the head with a looping Lonely Boy track for the whole level. It's the level music is much more scaled back and mundane. It's more about the bass line and the drum track, so that it's not like, oh my god, I'm so sick of listening to this. But once you get to the boss, the little music video thing pops up in the corner that says, hey, you're listening to 9 Inch Nails now. And then the boss battle is to a licensed track. It's like a fucking music video. It is so cool. Like I said, I'm only a couple levels into it, so I haven't heard too much of it. But I think that's very smart, and it was a very pleasant surprise.
I was taken aback by how much I like the characters in such a short time. You have like Chai, and you have like, you have the cat that is like your buddy who's like following you around, and then just the main character themselves. And it was very surprising, like the voice work and the tone, and it was like funny. And the story
Yes.
revolves around kind of the typical, like, oh, rage against the corporate machine. They experimented on this guy, accidentally giving him like superpowers that he's using to fight against. And it's like this rebel group that is trying to break this corporate machine. And the bosses and how funny everyone is, like, coming in, like the tone like was nailed. And that's not something that usually hits for me when
It's
the dialogue's kind of goofy and like funny and stuff. I'm like, this is great. Like, I want to hear more from these characters. That like never happens. I want to see another like quip in one line, or I want to see this little short cut scene. Like, everything worked. And I'm like, that's very surprising, because not typical for me.
it's like the thing I think that impresses. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that impresses me in this game, but I think the thing that impresses me the most is exactly what you just said, whereas everything feels effortless.
Mm-hmm.
The game starts, and within minutes, you're just attached to the world because of the colors and the livelihood of the characters, and it's so easily accessible. There's a story there, but like the story is kind of like, whatever. It's the characters and the interaction and the world that you're invested in. So you, like you said, you want to hear and see more because the characters are so goddamn cool. What they're doing is pretty formulaic, but just the design and the presentation is so next level. I remember when Final Fantasy VII Remake came out, I said, this is one of the best directed games I've ever seen. And it's not something that you say very often because everything was just so stylish and it was like a very well directed movie. And this game has that in spades. The cutscenes are phenomenal. The boss battles are out of this world, so good and over the top. It's just so damn fun. I'm loving my time with it. There's a couple things that I want to talk about. Very small gripes so far. Again, I'm not very far into it. One thing that I'll say is I find that the constant visual and audio cue of that beat, while it's ingrained in the gameplay and it's necessary, sometimes it can almost feel trapping in a way where it's so subconscious. You hear that beat and the game conditions you to just know the BPMs, and the game almost plays you in the sense that you're jumping all of a sudden to the beat and you're dashing to the beat and you're doing everything to the beat kind of unwillingly because the game conditions you to do that.
Yeah, you kind of have to. Yeah.
So like at some points it kind of feels like, oh my God, I'm absolutely zombieing through this level because I'm in that beat. Boom, boom,
Yeah.
boom,
With
boom,
some of the
boom.
platforming, like it wants you to go boom, boom, dash.
Yeah.
Boom, up, down. And yeah, I can get what you're saying. And that's an appeal for a lot of people, I'm sure. Like kind of that rhythm game aspect of it. So yeah, I can kind of see that.
And I'm hoping that this changes throughout the game. I haven't experienced it yet, but I'm hoping that as the game rolls out, that beat changes a little bit. Because so far in 3 hours in, there's slight variations, but for the most part, like I'm looking for a level that's like boom, 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 boom.
Yeah,
I want them to
what
change it up
happens,
that
yeah.
way. I don't know if that's coming, but I hope so because I've heard this game is like 30 hours long. And if we keep at that steady beat the whole way, I can see that being kind of like, okay, like switch it up on me, like
Yeah.
change the expectation a little bit. Again, that might be coming. I'm new to this game. I don't know if that's something that they're going to roll out, but damn, I am loving this game. I'm playing Xbox on my PlayStation, Antonio.
Well, speaking of that, this is a quote. This is from Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella. We're expanding our games to new platforms, bringing 4 of our fan favorites to Nintendo Switch and Sony PlayStation for the first time. In fact, earlier this month, we had 7 games among the top 25 on the PlayStation Store, more than any other publisher. So as Xbox is allowing their games to go onto other platforms, PC and PlayStation, they have like success, which is great. Hi-Fi Rush, as far as the like scores, like Metacritic on Xbox is 87, PC it got a 90, PS5 it got an 88. So it's kind of pretty universally like accepted that this is a success, a good game. The one thing that I was kind of, it's like a pro and a con, was the combat for me. The combat felt like impactful and like you're beating up on robots and it's flashy and I like that. But there's also this combo system that evolves that you have to invest in, and it requires like more complex button inputs, and that type of like, it's not Devil May Cry, but that type of gameplay where you have to do a combo to, you know, get good. I'm not good at it. So and I don't know if I have the dexterity anymore as an old man to get good at it. However, the payoff of the combat and how cool you are, because it's all around music, and you're doing like, you're fighting with like a guitar, like it's almost like it's an incredible crescendo and success as you unleash attacks that make you feel totally badass. And it's like you're a rock star. You are a rock star. And it's like, I wish I could experience that without like, maybe I have to play on easy. I believe there was some type of settings you could do.
Yep.
But
there's some, I think it's 5 different difficulty levels, maybe.
Yeah. So, but the combat had great points, but also kind of isn't for me in general sometimes. So overall, a great game. I'm glad that you jumped into it. Did your kids like it?
Elliot played it for the first time this morning. And
is he hooked?
I was kind of like, I'm explaining it to him, right? Like, okay, so you know, you've got to, you can just attack like any other game, but you got to listen to the music. And like, he's like looking at me like, okay, I guess. And I hand him the controller and just like, he just had it
immediately. Kids, man.
And I wonder, well, that not only that, but like he's musically inclined, kind of like I am. And I think that's, like you said, the combat can be tricky with the combos, but they add a layer of, it has to be in beat. Like, you can't just hit the combo. You got to hit the combo in time. And I think if a person is a musician or musically inclined, like kind of has that, you know, some people can dance, some people can't. Some people have natural rhythm. And if a person struggles with that, I can see this game being a frustrating experience. But if a person naturally has, I mean, I don't even know what the term is, but if the person has natural rhythm, it could be flawless for them. I handed him the controller and he's just like, perfect combo, perfect combo, perfect combo. I'm like, Jesus Christ, you're doing better than I am.
Yeah.
So yeah, he loves it. He loves it because again, it's a playable cartoon. So you were right. Perfect for kids. My kids in particular really enjoy it. So it's a great game, man. Good for the whole family.
Check it out.
All right. Well, that sound means it's the caboose. We're bringing this show to a close. We're pulling into the station with a recommendation of something outside of the world of video games that we think you might enjoy. Antonio, what's in your caboose?
I have 2 recommendations. Number 1, mini recommendation. If you're on Threads, which is like the post-X nonsense, if it's a new, you know, the social media, there's someone you should follow called Noble News. KNOEBEL. So KNOEBELNEWS. Noble News. And I don't know anything about it except this person is posting really cool, succinct updates on gaming news and basically trying to be like a catch-all, has a weekly roundup and puts everything in like easy to view graphics if you are short on time, and I've been enjoying it. So Noble News, KNOEBEL, Noble News on Threads. Right. Second recommendation, I saw last night The Fall Guy. The Fall Guy is a action movie with now I'm blanking.
Ryan Gosling
and
young Hercules himself,
Emily Blunt, right? So it is a recommendation from me. It is a very, very fun movie. You know, lots of action. It is, the chemistry between the 2 leads is just off the charts. I wasn't expecting that, and I'm a sucker for that type of thing. You know, that kind of like romantic comedy aspect. But again, you have the action. It's all about a stunt man and the story around him. And it's good. You have to turn your brain off a little bit because it gets into the like kind of over the top. but I laughed multiple times. Everybody in the theater laughed multiple times that we went, and there was just a very slight round of applause at the end. I would give it. It's not a 4-star movie. I give it a 3.5 out of 5, but also a recommend, worth seeing. There's a lot of good movies coming this summer. Actually, we're walking and seeing all the posters and the previews before the movie, and I'm like, there is a lot coming that I'm interested in. So
Yeah.
I hope that the death rattle of cinema viewing isn't over, and that we're able to enjoy some things in theater now that COVID's levels are really low and stuff. So
Yeah, I'm a huge moviegoer, so I'm always excited when I hear that people are going to the movies, because I don't know, I love it. I think it's such an experience. For me, my recommendation is a streaming show. And this is quite an event. X-Men 97 on Disney
I
Plus.
have not started it, Adam. Should I run and watch it?
Oh my God. Okay, so I grew up in the 80s and 90s, and I watched the original X-Men show. Now, you don't have to be original X-Men. I didn't rewatch it, right? Like, I remember it when I was a teenager watching it. But this new series is a continuation. It's like the next season of that show. And it goes some places. It's telling a lot of stories in a little bit of time. I believe the season finale, the 2-part season finale, is coming up this week. More mature than I thought it was going to be. Some very heady storytelling with a lot of overt themes. Like, they pretty much have an entire episode that's all about January 6th, metaphorically. So it's very much in that X-Men vein of using superheroes and silly costumed villains to tell stories about tolerance and acceptance. And so it's very much X-Men in that sense. It's not perfect. There are some episodes where they try to tell so many different stories with so many different characters in a half hour that I'm just kind of like, wait, what the fuck did you just do in the last half hour? So some episodes are a little too smooshed. There's too much happening. But when this show hits hard, and it's got my favorite superheroes. I've always been an X-Men guy. With the MCU, like, I like the Avengers and stuff, but the X-Men have always been my thing.
Yeah.
So to see this show treating these characters with so much respect, and it's still silly. It's still very much a Saturday morning cartoon kind of view of superheroes. So you're going to be seeing bright yellow jumpsuits and characters with all sorts of silly powers. But it also has a mature angle that makes it more of a show for adults than it is for kids. Like, this is more for me than it is for my son. I love it. I'm very, very happy that it's successful. And I'm very happy that X-Men are coming back into the mainstream. We've got Deadpool and Wolverine coming out in a couple of months. I'm a happy guy because the X-Men are back. So if you are an X-Men fan, get Disney Plus, give this show a watch. It's quite a thing.
I hear nothing but good things. And a quick question, because I don't know if you're like this, but as a kid, when I had watched old shows like this, I feel like I watched the same rerun episodes and I've only seen like 10. And it was just those same 10. That could be my selective memory. I have no idea, but I feel like that's kind of how it was, like the syndicated like release of these shows. Is the original X-Men on Disney Plus as well? And because there's something like 6 seasons or some weirdness like
that. I think it is.
There was like a lot of episodes of the original, which I must have never seen them all, or either my memory is just that bad. I don't know.
I think that was my thing too, where it's like I came into this and I was like, do I want to watch the original? Because I knew this was a sequel.
Right.
Like, do I need to catch myself up?
Right.
I don't remember most of that series. I have, like you said, I have like memory hold a couple episodes, but you don't have to be well versed. They'll catch you up. They'll throw you right into the thick of things.
Okay.
You don't need to binge watch 6 seasons to enjoy this. So yeah, X-Men 97. If you're a fan, I give this a recommendation. They're not all winners, but as an entirety, as a whole season, there's way more to like here than not. And the animation is freaking awesome. It feels like you're watching a 90s anime. There's some really cool stuff in here. So that's X-Men 97 on Disney Plus. And that's the end of Megadads Live. We thank you so much for listening or watching here on youtube.com/Megadads. Make sure you leave a comment, subscribe to the channel, join us in the Megadads Discord. It's right there in the show notes. So grateful for all of you sticking with us for 10 years of Megadads. For Antonio, for Mabel, I'm Adam. We'll see you guys next week on an all-new episode of Megadads Live.